Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Under Construction. This is episode number 66, and I am your host, Ellis, otherwise known as Trainman, or the Admiral if you prefer. Today we're here, we are trying to reach our goal of getting this right here is the completed scenery work. What about this? Up to the edge of the swamp. And all things considered, we're fairly close, but there are some pretty big hurdles, one of which is what to do with this area here. And this big empty area is going to be mostly rocks. It's going to be mostly rocks with a couple of small stands of trees, and not really much else to look at. Now, as we've established, we can't really copy and paste on the show, because it tends to crash the game, at least at some point, if not immediately. So, we're forced to stay away from that, but at the same time, we want to get stuff done. So, now I'll say it right now, I'll say it right out. I don't have a lot of confidence that we're going to be able to make our Thanksgiving made-up deadline. If we do, I will be very thankful, but I don't have a lot of faith in that. In fact, I think that we're going to miss it by quite a bit, mostly because I don't seem to have a lot of spare time outside of recording time, outside of the designated 2 hours, to do the copy and pasting that I need to do. And like I said, I do that off camera. I don't do it during the episode because it tends to crash the game. And if the game crashes, then I lose quite a bit of video. Not just, I lose footage that I've already recorded, but then I have to get the game back up and running. It effectively becomes a massive waste of time. I wouldn't necessarily call it, I don't know. It's not really a waste, but it's time that could have been better put to use in the video. Because we've only got 2 hours to do this. And that's it. That's how long the video is. That's how much time I'm going to spend, and how much time I'm going to force you to pay attention to. Because if this is as fun to watch as it is to make, God, this show sucks. I'm kidding. I actually quite enjoy making this show, and I appreciate the people that do watch the show. In fact, we have a comment this week, a nice fat comment from Evan Vlogs. Evan, you are a gentleman and a scholar for leaving me such a comment. Also, speaking of that phrase, a gentleman and a scholar. It's such a great, it's such a great phrase to throw out there as you're a great guy for doing what you do. But I realize that there's not a female version of that. It really doesn't flow off the tongue to say gentlewoman. And what's the equivalent of that? A gentleman is a fairly outdated, well, maybe not outdated, but it's an old term. It's not something that you hear thrown around very often, certainly. Not as much as it may have been thrown around in, the 50s or the 40s. He's being a gentleman. And, or even before that. Maybe I'm giving too much of a time. I'm just thinking okay, well, what's the equivalent then? Housewife? What's the female equivalent to gentleman? Gentlewoman? Gentlewoman is, hard to say, so I don't really like it. Oh, it's hard to say. Oh, no, you can say anything you want around me. No, it's just difficult to pronounce. It's hard to get out of my mouth. Gentlewoman. No. No, it's not good. It's not good. Does anybody have an alternative to that? A female version of gentleman? Because, frankly, what I want to be able to do is compliment waitresses. Or whatever. Just saying you're a gentleman and a scholar is a great, I won't call it a retort because it's a good thing. But it's a great compliment to somebody. Instead of saying, thanks a lot. Thanks a ton, thanks a bunch. It adds a little bit more flair to it. It gives it a little bit more punch because people will be, maybe not thrown off their guard, but they won't really expect gentleman and scholar. And also it's very, what's the word? It feels like a very high-class compliment, of course. Gentleman and a scholar. Now, and the reason I was thinking about this is because I complimented the girl who gave me my shake at Johnny Rockets last time I was there. And, my quip, which I said it just for the sake of saying it, really, was, thank you, darling, you're an angel. And I felt like that was maybe a little bit too, a little bit too pandery. Using the word darling in just a normal social context is not really, it isn't normal these days. So, darling, like, just throwing that around, like, you can get away with love in like England sometimes, or down south. Definitely not up here, oh, thanks, love. You can't get away, you can't do that. You can't do that, because up here in New England, or in the Northeast in general, we don't do the fake politeness. And because we don't do the fake politeness, you can't do the real politeness either. The real politeness is keeping it short and sweet, getting it over with, being efficient, not wasting time. Thanks, or, don't say anything at all, just take it and go. There are plenty of people who are more than happy with hearing literally nothing from anybody. Oh, I'm realizing I'm kind of screwing this up. I'm doing it backwards. Oh wait, no, because I've got to do the one up top as well. So let's bring this over here real quick. Yeah, it's going to be mostly grass. I did change this, right? Yes. It's going to be mostly grass this episode because that's the big hurdle. And, towards the end of the episode, maybe I will do some copy-pasting if I'm feeling so bold. Although in the big comment, there is a request to go work on a certain section, which I'll get to the comment sooner or later. I'm just, I just want to, you know how I go on my rants about, like being a good person and all that? So here's the thing. Chivalry is not dead, but chivalry now is in a different form than it was, back when, sort of the gentlemanly era was, You think like holding the door for women and like, or holding the door for people is just now. There are some people who take affront to having the door held for them because they figure, oh, you're insinuating that I can't do this on my own. When really it's just a politeness thing. Now, that wraps back around to you don't do the fake politeness. You're not just polite unconditionally, so people get suspicious when you are polite. People will think there's an ulterior motive if you are polite. And that's an issue. But what's polite now, what counts as being polite and being, and I hesitate to use the term politically correct, but it's more like being socially good. I don't mean to use the term politically correct in the context that it's normally found in. I just mean in doing the right thing for your peers, for your fellow man or fellow woman, perhaps. Doing the right thing for the people around you, such as holding the door. Especially if somebody's carrying a lot. And I don't think that's as egregious. It's not like you're every day faced with people who will go off at you because you held the door for them. How dare you? But holding the door is still pretty universally accepted, especially if you're doing it now as like it's just something you do. It's something you do for people. If we're gonna be honest, you hold the door for people when they're going. It's just that is polite. But being the oh milady, oh I'm so chivalrous, I'm going to do this and that and the other thing, and that's what it's about. See, there's a real fine line between being a good person and going to that sort of white knighty, that I don't want to call it fake because doing nice things isn't fake, but doing nice things with the expectation of getting something in return is, and I'm sure you guys all sort of get what I'm talking about. The sort of mentality that, if I do a lot of good things, I will, people will reward me, I will get things in return. But that's not really true. Being a good person is about doing something without the expectation of getting something in return. Without, doing it to anybody, doing it for anybody, no matter who they are, no matter if you like them or not. That's what being the best person you can be is about. And, basically my big warning is, try not to go off the deep end with the way you interact with people. Try not to, try not to, act like, oh yes, I am doing so many great things for you, because that's frankly just pretentious. You don't want to do that. That isn't, I hesitate to use the word attractive, I suppose, but it isn't attractive. It's not, particularly, I don't know, it's pandery. It won't really put you on the right foot with people. Definitely be a good person, but do it in silence. Do your thank yous and your your pleases and your thank yous, that sort of thing, and really you don't need much else. Hold the door for people. Let people into your long line of cars if you happen to be on a very congested street and someone's trying to take a left or take a right into the street and they just can't find an opening. Do that sort of thing. Do the little things that help people with their inconveniences. And that's what it's all about. That's why you hold the door for people. It's not, it's really never going to be insurmountable for somebody to open a door for themselves. They're designed to be quite user-friendly, as a matter of fact. But it may make someone's life, or make someone's day particularly, a little easier. And that's what being a good person is about. That's what being a gentleman is about. At least in the day-to-day. If you're going out of your way to help a friend because they're not feeling well, maybe they received a lot of hateful comments on their YouTube video, and and they're coming to terms with the fact that they're ugly and gay and everyone has had sex with their mom. If you've got a friend that's on a serious note, if you've got a friend that's really been hurt by something that somebody said to them, and you're going out of your way to make sure that, they're okay, then that's a different situation. I am going to go this way. That's a different situation than, the holding the door. Even if it's not so much a friend, even if it's just, like a stranger, volunteer at a helpline or something, people call up and you talk them through their problems, like a suicide helpline, but be careful with that. You've got to go, it's the kind of thing where you're probably going to want or need therapy after. I probably, I can't necessarily suggest it enough, but I can't also caution it enough. It's something that I would like to do someday, but I am afraid for, sort of what I'll end up having to witness. But I digress. That's different. That's going above and beyond. That's doing something really special that people don't necessarily often get. And I think I'm going to put like dirt here because this is all rocky. And it's important to be there for somebody. It's important to be there for somebody in their time of need, be there for somebody if they need it. But that's different. That's not even being a gentleman, that's just being a good friend. There's a pretty fine line. Although, maybe it's not so fine. I'll admit, maybe it isn't so fine. Maybe it's blurred more than a little bit, because you can wonder about, where's the cutoff? How much time, how much effort, that sort of thing. Either way, I digress. Be a good person. It's not that hard. Take a little bit of time out of your day to open a door for somebody. Help somebody with something they're carrying. Or at least ask. It can never hurt to ask. If somebody gets annoyed that, you were offering your assistance, if they looked like they needed assistance, then so be it. What does that do? But if somebody takes it, you might make somebody's day better. There are worse things than having a good deed turned down. So, anyway, I totally got off track. I still don't know a female equivalent of gentleman and a scholar. I just really want sort of a... Now, see, I'm doing it too. I'm doing the thing that I'm cautioning against, but I'm not doing it under the pretense of, ooh, and then maybe I'll get her number because I said a nice thing to her. I'm taken. My heart's spoken for. I'm saying it because I want something better to say. And it's not even necessarily better. It's admittedly rather goofy and also kind of dumb, but I just want something, you know. I just want something. I want to feel like, yeah, I said a unique thing. But that's not all there is to life. As long as you say thank you. And you know what says thank you way better than than saying you're a gentleman and a scholar, or you're a sweetheart, or you're an angel. You know what goes better than that? Giving a fat tip. Because I'm sure that's something they'll appreciate. That's something that they'll always appreciate, unless we move away from tipping, which, that's a debate for another time. But, oh yeah. If you want somebody to, if you want someone to go, oh wow, that person was really nice, don't say the nice thing, do the nice thing. Give them the money. Because money matters. Money talks, okay? Money talks, and there's nothing, and nothing talks louder. Really, nothing talks louder. Maybe except for, like, murder. But even then, since you can pay someone to do murder, it's, yeah, I think money talks louder. Money's the larger voice in this conflict. I'm gonna go over top of this. I'm making this rather complex. Why? I don't know. Do I deserve this? I'm not sure. What did I do to deserve this? Not that much, I would think. I called a woman an angel, therefore all my sins should be removed, including all that fapping during No Fap November. Jesus, forgive me because I said this one thing, and also send all the women to me. That's how it works. Can confirm. Yeah, it's the edge of the tree line. This is what I'm doing here. This is the edge of where all the trees are. And that's why it's thick, just in case I miss a little. But I'm just trying to make sure that the bits that are rockier, the bits that are a little bit more jagged, are exposed. They don't have trees growing on them because they're not going to have, like, enough topsoil. And the smoother bits are going to be covered in trees. And so over here is where I think it starts to come down. So, and this isn't something I created on purpose. These are not predetermined lines that I'm following. These are lines that just sort of happened as I did the terrain. And that's sort of what the beauty of doing, it's not randomized terrain, but about doing the terrain sort of off the cuff does for you. It lets you have these things, and it lets you do these things that you wouldn't really get to do otherwise, because you would never put in the effort to think this through. I mean, maybe you would, but you don't, why? Why? Why would you do that? Why would you put in that effort? Why am I putting the effort to do this? I mean, because I want it to look good. That's why we do anything in this game, pretty much, as far as scenery goes. But, this adds another element to it. It adds another layer of figuring stuff out, and as frustrating as that may sound, to have another thing to figure out, yeah, I don't know. It's not just that it's brain bending, it's that it creates what amounts to be a unique terrain, and a unique set of scenery that will, look good on its own merits and really nothing else. It will look good, just, sort of like real nature does, where it just, it ends up looking good just because it does, because things align right in this location, and they create a setting and an area that has a beautiful vista or an interesting combination of things. That's why the winging it is really, I think it's really good. Because instead of going through and trying to create these scenic vistas, and, expending all of your time and effort trying to think through, okay, what's going to make this look the best? you don't have to do any of that, and what you can do instead is... also, I'm just going to go up to here because I'm not sure how I want to do this valley. What you can do instead is just have it come out however it comes out. And that'll be the way it looks. That'll be it, you know? That'll be all you need. So, let's see. So this is going to be in a basically treeless area, leading down to the swamp, rocks and dirt and stuff. Trees are not going to come down this far, except for maybe one spot over here. Over here. No, I'm going to leave that the way it is. Alright. Now, ladies. Alright, so I also have to do the same thing along the ocean side, but let's take a look at this comment first. Evan Games! Okay, so, he begins. I love it when comments start like this. Alright, I thought it was Evan Vlogs. I just glanced at it earlier. I'm sorry I made this terrible mistake. I don't want to mistake you for your identical twin. I apologize. I'm not going to go in order with these because I want to do this. He says, can you name any river of your choice that is unnamed? The Ciara River. C-I-A-R-A. Now, yes, I can. Hold on, let me do that. Now, we don't have a name for this, so let's name this one. Let's get an airport number. Oh, that's stupid. Airport. No. Runway. Number. Yeah, let's name this Ciara River. I like that name. Where'd you get that? I spelled that right? Yeah. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Alright, but we have that, we have Little Creek, RJ Canyon, which doesn't have a river that's, it doesn't have a named river. The Daffodil Stream and Little Creek, which is the one that's big. I didn't really intend that, but it happened. He also says, can you work up the mountain to Bristol Curve? Are you saying with terrain, with scenery? I assume you mean with scenery, because the terrain's all done. But, I don't know, that's a long way to go. I've got to get to the swamp first. I would like to. I would like to get here eventually. I just don't know what the area is going to look like yet. We haven't really figured that one out. But we do, we did this over here. We did the terrain last time we talked about Bristol Curve. I know you love this place. I can tell. And trust me, I love it too. There's just one small thing we need to take care of first, and that... Oh, what? Oh, okay, I thought that was broken. And that thing is all the rest of the scenery. So yes, I can, but I'm working in this direction very generally anyway. What I can do is I can... Uh-oh. There we go. I can work on this stuff over here. Now, this still needs copy-pasting, though. So I still need to copy-paste over it, so I'm going to save that for later in the video. Now, that started off with, have you ever been to Disney World? And I can ramble on about this. So, short answer, yes. Long answer, yes, 3 times. In fact, 3 years in a row when I was an incredibly lucky child. I was an incredibly lucky child. I'll say that much. And, okay, so the only thing I have left to do over here right now, oh no, other than copy and pasting, I still need to do, no, because I don't want to start working on this when I have to copy paste around it. So, okay, we'll do that later. Yeah, we'll copy paste later. Oh crap, no, there is one more strip of grass I have to do. So before I go up and work on Adams, I'm going to work on this other strip of grass here. Anyway, sorry. Yes, I've been 3 times. Yes, and it is awesome. It was awesome every time. However, I was very young, so I don't remember a whole lot of it. So I'll try to give you the gist of what I remember. And what I really remember is my heartbreak. Because, well, there were 2 instances of heartbreak, one of which is a much larger instance of heartbreak. The other one that I just remembered when I said that was that I was too small to go on the rock and roller coaster, and I bawled my eyes out in that line, like in front of that line. And so the park attendants felt so bad for me. They gave me a pass to get to the front of the line if I ever came back and I was tall enough. That was the first time I went. And then we went back the next year and I was tall enough. And that was dope. The Rock and Roller Coaster might be one of my favorite coasters in Disney World. In fact, it might be, I haven't been back in a while, it might be my favorite coaster because it has so much, it goes so fast, it has so much weight to it. You know, you really get, not thrashed around, but you really get shoved into your seat. You get some serious G-forces. It's the kind of thing where it's an intense ride. It definitely is an intense ride, and they aren't shy about that. And I'm not one to normally like really intense rides, but when it comes to roller coasters, the faster the better. You know, as cool as Big Thunder Mountain is, you know, for my little childhood self, because it was a train, that was my favorite coaster then. Or Space Mountain is because it's that unknown of, whoa, what are we going to do next? We're in the dark. Which, that's super cool. The Rock and Roller Coaster was seriously, you know, you get blasted. You get shoved into your seat. You get, you know, rolled upside down. You get those G-forces. It is what a roller coaster should feel like. And if you want another example of a coaster that a roller coaster should feel like, check out the, oh god, what is it called? The Apollo's Chariot in Busch Gardens in Williamsburg, Virginia. Check that one out. That is, right now, it's my favorite roller coaster that I've been on. Uh-oh. I cannot answer that. 1 second, please. She's gonna call on the computer. Hopefully that will... Hold on, just wait. Wait for it. It's gonna be really loud. I apologize when it happens. Hopefully she will see that message and not call me. Now we wait with bated breath to see if she calls me. It is late. I realize that I didn't give her a heads up that I couldn't talk. Sorry, Madison. I know you're not going to watch this video, but I apologize. Anyway, I used to have, like, you know, just as an aside, I went through the phase of my life where I had my different ringtones for everybody. You know, everybody had a cool different ringtone, and I could recognize, you know, when people would call me. I mean, that was back in the day when people actually called one another on the phone. Amazing, right? But, you know, everybody had a different ringtone. People were calling me. I would know who it was. It'd be, oh, you know, that's so-and-so calling me. Oh, that's Ian calling me. That's my dad, or, you know, whatever. And Madison still does this because she's smart, because people call her. I have no use for this because nobody calls me. What I should really do is just have, you know, one ringtone for everybody else, and then a different ringtone for Madison, and then a different ringtone, like literally the scariest one I could find, for my bosses. Just, all of them get the same ringtone. Oh, also, I think I realized why I didn't do that, because that's gonna be... This probably should be like all sand, though, huh? This out here. This should be like total sandbar. At least this end. You know, maybe you get some trees up on that rock there. The only thing this doesn't represent is the fact that these would have some pretty steep rocky edges. Instead of, you know, these sort of sloping edges. I don't feel like going through that sort of pain and effort for this. I am going to do this, like... I don't know how I'm going to do this area. This is something that I'll have to do later. Once I get all this filled in. So I do have to reserve some time to do a whole lot of copy-pasting and get the trees in here. But then once we do that, once we do our copy-pasting, aside from the rocky bits, which there are quite a few, we'll be up to, like, here without a problem. Except for this area. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. We are closer than we think. If I can get to copy pasting, we are much, much closer than we think. So I could work on this area here. I already did all the telegraph lines that go up this way. And then, they go this way. They probably shouldn't, actually. I'm going to put a little building out here. Hold on. Let's see, how about a little flag stop building or like a little station building? And I'm going to probably want my content manager list so that I can see if a piece of content is broken or not. So car cross station, these are all really big. I don't want them to be big, I want them to be really small. What is a YVRR? Yenisei Valley? Is that what the heck? BC? I don't know what that is. Healesville? That's too big. I need a tiny, tiny station. That's not it. That's cool though. I should use that somewhere. Small station building. Station small building. Why is it like suspended by its gutters? That doesn't seem right. Why is everything I place here hovering? I need to look really run down, though. That's the thing. It shouldn't look any good. Something I'm curious about is if there's a pen station for this game, because there better be, There really better be. Oh, on bridge. That's the thing. Small police station. No, we've used that before. That's not even a train station. It's not what we're looking for. I don't need a Shell station. Rock Island Freight House. Baltimore Station. That's definitely not what we need. Quebec Central Station. This is cool. This might be useful later, but not now. As cool as that is, that's definitely not right. Jim Thorpe Station. Okay, so here's the thing. I could hypothetically put this here. I wouldn't be opposed to putting this here, but it really belongs somewhere else. It is a very nice building. I could have seen them building a station building like this here if they wanted to, try and attract passengers or something like that. But in the grand scheme of things, this area just doesn't... There we go. That's what we're looking for. This is a JR item, and it probably is not on the DLS. Hold on. So this is called Generic Freight. And it's modified. It's... Did I just say Xbox turn on? What? Xbox turn off. Thank you. What? Yeah, this is not on the DLS. Oh well, that would have been really nice. Oh damn. Gonna need this somewhere. Also, I'm not sure if you heard that go on in the background. You may have. Either way, that was a mistake by somebody. Okay, I want a little tiny station. It doesn't even need to have a, Yeah, one of these will do. Okay, so what is this area even called? Daffodil Stream goes up there. If that's Little Creek, is this Little Lake? Or Icer Lake? Am I going to name this whole place after Ice? You know, am I going to name this whole place after him? You know what I could do? Hold on. No. See, I want an abandoned roundhouse. This is cool, but it's not abandoned. Oh, I do want this. Oh. It doesn't have a wall. Never mind. That's the one I'm using down there. What is this? Holy cow, that's cool. But you guys get what I'm getting at, right? I want to put an abandoned roundhouse here so I can call the place Helper. But, you know, I could always just sort of level this area. Put a, because the Y would not have been here. So you would need a turntable. Oh, how the turntables. You know, I would love to have a, you know, rusty, busted up, worthless turntable here. You know, so, you know, it's 100% worthless. This, perhaps, because this looks bad enough. And then sort of like the remnants of a building around it. I'm just not sure. A, I think this is the wrong gauge. B, I don't know if this is on the DLS. NSW turntable. It's built in. Okay, it doesn't matter. You know, I want to have some abandoned track over here. I want to have some abandoned track, you know, up here. I intend to. Oh, that's right. I need to actually mark that as a... I need to put a spline or something. Because where does this end? Right there? Yeah. Let's see. Abandoned track. No. Let's see. So we have this hot track. I think the hot track is all DLS. Some of it is. Most of it is. The grass too rusty. Yeah, this is. So what if I... Let me see how this looks. I mean, I have previously confirmed that hot tracks don't look good. They are not as good as some of the other tracks. They are still slightly better than some, but overall they are not. And I think what I intend to do is to build this out, you know, to a certain point. Also, wait, why is it so wonky? Did I not? Hold on a minute. It's just, it wasn't sitting right. Do the tracks have like different curve radii that they want or something? You know? Is something screwy, something acting fishy. Because this was, it totally looks better like that. But this, I mean, I guess you could just say it got a little bit washed out. It just doesn't look right. I mean, it'll look fine when we lay grass over top of the whole thing. You know, I don't really want to use other kinds of track on this map. I don't have much of an interest to, because I'm trying to make all the track look good. But this is, you know, this is like really abandoned track. This is a former line that really has no use whatsoever. They built a cutoff around it. This is the Rollins Pass of this area. You know, they built a tunnel, or well, in this case, they built a tunnel and a very, very large bridge in order to keep people from having to go this way. And I think I'll just leave it like that. That's fine. And I'll leave this like this. And I'm going to lay like dirt and crap on top of this. These rails look rusty enough. So the other thing I'll do is I've got to build this to see how it looks. That way, and then this way. So we have a 3... Move the thing, fool. Oh my god, I just clicked on it twice. I swear to you I did. I'm not going crazy. I might be going crazy. Speaking of going crazy, right? Anyone here ever figure that their family might be a little bit more interconnected than they probably should be? If you catch my drift. So, I'm Italian. I'm full-blooded Italian. You know, there aren't too many Americans that are full-blooded anything, because that's, you know, kind of the beauty of America. We're, you know, we are the melting pot, as it were, or, you know, whatever you call it now. We're the salad bowl. You know, I think something happened with melting pot. It had to do with, like, we don't... There are better terms, because melting pot can imply that you're sort of, you know, you're losing your cultural identity, and that's not what, you know, whatever. I'm not here to discuss that necessarily. I will if somebody asks about it, but right now, no. But anyway, speaking of cultural identity, also, what the hell happened here? Why is this happening? Oh, because I built this on the ground. What the what? How come this is happening? Oh. Because this is somehow higher than it should have been. Well, color me befuddled. Yeah, okay, so that now we're Z fighting. I don't want that to happen. Yeah, this area, you'd think you'd have a longer passing siding, maybe? You'd think? You know what? I will mime like there once was one. Hold on. I'll go from there to over here. I'll do this. Well, actually, I'll do... Oh, wait. Why is this not lower? Lower. Let's make this spline point the same height as this. I'm spending way too much time on this. Whatever, I'm making myself happy. That's what this is really about. I didn't start making this map so that I could suffer. I made it so that I could enjoy myself. So, what is going on with this? Why is this higher? This has no... This should be the opposite of higher. I don't really care. Do that. And then we'll have this whole embankment thingy here. With some hot track. I guess we're just going to use this for all of our abandoned track needs. And so it's going to go from like here to over here. See, the thing is, it just doesn't look good. You know? It doesn't look good. Alright, so we're going to have to reroute these wires. Oh, I got to here and then stopped? Okay. I was wondering where I stopped. Anyway. Oh yeah, disappointment at Disney World. Sorry, I didn't finish that story. So the first year we went, it was just... it was the whole family. It was both sides of the family. And speaking of family, I need to get back to that story as well. But it was both sides of the family. The next year we went, it was just myself and my mom and my dad, which was still pretty cool. And the year after that, it was after my parents had broken up, or had gotten divorced, so it was just my dad's side of the family. And that was the depressing one. And it wasn't depressing at the time, because I was at Disney, but looking back on it, it was like, oh, yeah, this is, this is how things are going to be now. We don't do things as a big family anymore. And that killed me. And it still honestly kind of kills me to this day. I hope that I never have to, bestow that upon whatever kid. Ideally I won't. Because I love Madison, and I hope that we can, have a long and fruitful life together. But the point is, I hopefully will not ever have to do that to anyone, where I'm splitting the family up. In any sense, whether it be an instance of, yes, also, why are these not rendering? What did I do? Also, why are they rendering over there, but not over here? Oh, they're doing this thing again. Son of a gun. Another bridge is doing it too. Oh, do I hate this. Where's the bridge? There it is. Now it's going to disappear again, isn't it? Oh, I hate it when it does this. I need a database repair. Anyway. I'll have to work on this later, because that's pissing me off. I don't want to work on this later, though. I want to work on it now. I want to have this area, and this area would be pretty much completely cleared. And there would have been, previously, a bunch of buildings around here, but it's probably just going to be a bunch of foundations now, at best. This turntable should not be connected to anything. This switch probably shouldn't exist. What I think I might do is I just might add some hot track in here, like up to here. But what I'm actually going to do is get rid of the switch stand just to make sure that it's gone. Get rid of this, then hot track this to here. So yeah, we would have had a roundhouse here with some helpers. If you didn't pick up a helper in Olive, if you got through that part, because it's like, now things are going to get worse, As you're going to go up the mountain from here, things are going to get real bad. And, because you've got to get basically around the headwaters of these two rivers. And then you wrap all the way around and you come back in somewhere over here. It's a long, long way to go. That was mitigated by the construction of this bridge over here. Anyway, this area also needs some love. Oh yeah, there's the engine on this bridge, huh? So, a lot of areas need love. But let's look at this again. What is your favorite locomotive manufacturer? Baldwin, because they are partners with the Standard Railroad of the world, and God sits at the right hand of the president of the Pennsylvania Railroad, and not the other way around, and don't you forget it. So, Baldwin. That was an easy question. I also do like Alcos. If we're talking steam engines, it's hands down Baldwin, and Alcos are sort of in the backfield doing whatever. If we're talking diesels, it's Alco all the way. And then same thing with Baldwin. Like it flips, but it's always Baldwin and Alco are my favorite. What is your least favorite railway company? New York Central, because they're Satan's Road. Okay, just kidding. I don't actually harbor any resentment towards the New York Central like a good standard man should. I actually quite like the New York Central. And that's not me telling a dirty secret. That's just, when you like railroads, there are a few railroads you really should like. And I say that, and I mean it, irrespective of the things that those railroads have done in the modern era, the things that the railroads are infamous for. There are some railroads that you should just like, There are some railroads that you should be familiar with. And that are famous, with good reason. And the New York Central is one of them. They are, they were the premier passenger road. And I mean that. In the United States, they were absolutely the premier passenger road. There was no compare. The Pennsylvania tried, and they couldn't do it. They were never as famous. They weren't half as famous as the New York Central was for their passenger railroading. And in a way, it's that which killed the Pennsylvania Railroad. They spent so much time trying to get that passenger railroading right that they wasted time that they could have been spending investing into other things, investing into things that might have saved them, or at least kept them afloat a little bit longer. They had to merge because they were going to go under sooner or later. They weren't making money anymore. The New York Central had to merge because, God knows, but merge they did. Either way, it's the kind of thing where they decided that that was the best course of action for some reason. Whether or not that it was, or, whether or not it was. I haven't built over here at all. I haven't even gotten the road down here. Boy, that's going to be a challenge, just in and of itself. Is this the thing that's making noise? Alright, so what have we got in this town? What do we even have in this town? I don't have my ideas document, so I don't know. By the way, the railroads that you should love, irrespective of everything they've done, I think, are the Pennsylvania. No, actually, no, you know what? I take that back. The Pennsylvania is not on that list. The Pennsylvania is the standard railroad of the world, but it isn't on that list. And the reason I don't think it should be on that list is because despite how huge and far-reaching the Pennsylvania was, there were very few things that they did that really, really stand the test of time. Even Penn Station didn't. And as marvelous as Penn Station was, which I can talk about that a little later, it didn't stand the test of time. It got knocked down. Through no fault of its own, it was an amazing building, but it still got knocked down. All of its amazingness didn't save it. And the Pennsylvania, they had a lot of iconic locomotives, but they're iconic when you really look at locomotives. Maybe the K4 is, the go-to Pacific, but I'm not really certain that it is. Maybe, they had the duplexes. They had the T1, and that's got, one of the most iconic looks in steam power, in steam locomotive power ever. But it didn't stand the test of time. And it may come back. But there are certain roads that did things that, every rail fan should care about. And every rail fan should, maybe not adore them unconditionally, but at least have a healthy respect for that road and what they were, if not what they are. And I hesitate to, I add these disclaimers because of Union Pacific. But Union Pacific, I think, is on that list. They had the big boys. Big boys are arguably the most famous class of locomotive in the world. They exist in the hearts and minds of not only every little child, but pretty much every rail fan. Because who hasn't heard of a big boy? And it doesn't matter where you are in the country, unless you're, I guess, in the southeast, then you're a little bit distant from them. But you are not that far from a big boy, probably. They're really scattered. They're scattered all around out west, and there's even one back east. So, you've got no excuse for not having seen one. Anyway, Union Pacific is up there also because they are the class 1 that keeps on keeping on. They still exist, first of all, whereas all of the other major railroads of the day don't. They've all merged and become basically unrecognizable. Nobody can really recognize the Pennsylvania Railroad in New York, or in Norfolk Southern, nor the New York Central in CSX. You can barely see the CB&Q in BNSF. Or, Santa Fe, even though that is part of their name, you can still scarcely see it. Santa Fe, though, I think is there as well because they have developed some of the most iconic diesel paint schemes of all time. Those being the war bonnets. That's the kind of thing that, again, every child knows what a war bonnet looks like. I was going back and forth with some folks about, what is the most iconic paint scheme on an F7 or a PA, or, what paint scheme do they belong in, that sort of thing. I think that the war bonnet, just on the premise of the fact that it was everywhere, and that it still is everywhere, it is still a famous look for a diesel locomotive. It wins. It won the test of time. And that's really what we're thinking about here. That's really what I'm thinking about. Union Pacific stood the test of time because of its classes of engines, because of its history. Santa Fe withstood the test of time because they made something beautiful. They made something just incredibly stand out, and that was its job. It was meant to be flashy. I'm not really sure necessarily. Well, the New York Central, again, for standing the test of time, for making the 20th Century Limited, and for running the 20th Century Limited, for running what is arguably the most famous train in the world, possibly only behind the Orient Express, for that title. And the Orient Express doesn't F around. That's the kind of thing where it's serious. It's serious. It is well known. It has been in albums, album covers. It is, it is the kind of thing where people think about that era and they think about the 20th Century Limited. And not only that, they did build their Grand Terminal, and it did stand the test of time. Grand Central Terminal is still there. You can visit it in all its glory, and boy, does it have glory. It is a beautiful station. I don't think it's as beautiful as Penn was, but the fact of the matter is, you can still walk around Grand Central Terminal. You can't walk around Penn Station. Not the way it was. So, New York Central is on my never forget list, simply because of that. Because of those things that I mentioned. Now, are there other railroads on this list? Yeah, probably. If you think you can make a case for one, you should say so, and I'll discuss it next episode. But, it's like, I think about the railroads that I know. The New Haven? The New Haven was definitely iconic in some ways, but it was never worldwide iconic. It was never the same kind of iconic. It's not the kind of thing that, that kids hear about and look up and see things from. That's the most important one. Is there anything left of the New Haven? Not really. There's not much. There's not a single steam locomotive. The only one that exists isn't New Haven. It's a Tangshan Locomotive Works Mikado that is dressed up to look like a New Haven Mikado. And don't get me wrong, it plays the part pretty well. In fact, it fits the bill. But it's still not New Haven. It's not original. And while they may have done a lot of things, none of that is like, yes, we do this because the New Haven did this. I don't know. I don't know what else to say necessarily. I'm sure everyone has their biases. Everyone has their railroads that they think really deserve to be in the spotlight. But the fact of the matter is, if I can't think of it, it might. That's a good reason for it not to be there. If I can't remember it, if there's nothing that makes me go, yes, this railroad, off the top of my head, I'm not sure it. I'm not sure it deserves that place. Maybe Great Northern. Maybe Great Northern because that goat is just that goat, that paint scheme, those colors. They're so well known. But I don't know. Maybe the Rio Grande for everything they do. I mean, maybe the Rio Grande has, should be immortalized in its own right, not because of what they did in the standard gauge side, but because the narrow gauge perseveres to this day. In the form of the DNS and the CATs. But even still, they kept that thing running through pretty much impossible odds. These railroads that still exist in basically the form that they were, that grants the original company pretty much immortality, at least in the eyes of us foamers. And there are some railroads that should never be forgotten for the opposite reason. I think I think we should never forget Penn Central or Conrail because of what they've done. Now, I think people come down too hard on Conrail a lot. Conrail was a necessary evil to save us from, the mistakes that not only the railroads had made, but the federal government had made in the regulation of said railroads. And, railroads in the face of a new form of technology that they simply couldn't adapt for, or multiple new forms of technology, really, that they simply couldn't adapt for. We should not forget Conrail, and we should not forget, what Conrail did to us. All of their abandonment and things like that. But we should also not forget what Conrail did for us, because, they pretty much single-handedly saved Northeast railroads on the whole. There were very few railroads that were not part of Conrail, and most of them were not part of Conrail, not because they didn't want to be, but because they had to not be in order for there to be some form of competition. And yeah, and what's another one? What's another one we can think of that's really, that really stands out like that? The Erie, the D&H, what do they do? It's the D&H shark noses are special and beautiful in their own right, but are they really that that well known? I don't think so. I don't think they are. I don't think shark noses in general are that well known. They were a Baldwin design that sort of they came and they went. They were good at a few things, but they weren't good enough. What else? What else can I think of? I'm not, I don't know. There's nothing else that really comes to mind. Again, the Grand, and, maybe Great Northern, but that's a real hard maybe on that one. And then little guys, you look at like the Rutland. It's like, the Rutland is scarcely, memorable at all. The Rutland doesn't have anything that survives from it, really. There's nothing to show for it. And they didn't do much. They built some cool infrastructure. And yeah, I think that something like that is definitely a reason to be remembered. And, maybe that's why the Pennsylvania should make the list. Because of what they built. Because of Horseshoe Curve. Actually, That's a good reason. Yeah, I'll put the Pennsylvania on the list because of Horseshoe Curve. Every foamer knows Horseshoe Curve. Uh, but, uh, you know, that's the sort of thing where you look at it and go, what is instantly recognizable? What has withstood the test of time, and what do people really remember from these railroads? And that's, the things they built are not even sometimes, often the top contenders for, why to remember a railroad. And then as their trains, The Southern Pacific gets a spot. Not necessarily because of anything special that they really did, although they did do, a couple of pretty special things. They had the cab forwards, and they had the GS4s. But just because of the longevity of those things, and because of the GS4 being the icon that it is, being the, this is a locomotive. For a lot of people, that's one of the first things they know as a locomotive, up there with the big boy. It's just as important. It's just as big. Even if it isn't the same size. The Norfolk and Western, perhaps, with 611. 611 is another one. Every foamer knows 611. And 765. But you think about 765, and you just think about 765. You don't necessarily think about the Nickel Plate Road. The Nickel Plate Road, I feel like, is one of those that often goes over the heads of people. You don't really think about it when you see it. Even worse with, Pierre Marquette. Because arguably, 1225 is one of the most famous locomotives of all time. Or, arguably 1225 is the famous single locomotive of all time. If you say that was in fact the locomotive in the Polar Express. With that caveat, it is almost certainly the most famous locomotive of all time, the most famous single locomotive of all time. At least in the modern era, a real locomotive, I should say. I'm not including Thomas the Tank Engine here. Although, Sodor Railways, that definitely earns a spot on the list too. I don't know. If you guys have a thought, absolutely say something. I will read it. I will read it out loud, and we will discuss it. I am more than happy to discuss it. In fact, I want to see what you guys think about my railroad list. The unforgettable railroads there. The ones that really, really made a difference. The ones that really, really matter. And so, the end begins. Let's continue with this before I get too off track. Which is better, LMS, LNER, SR, or GWR? Well, they say there are two ways to do something: the Great Western Way or the wrong way. But I honestly don't have a lot of stake in British railways. Now, and that's the other thing. See, I just said everything I said. I gave that whole spiel about the unforgettable railroads, da-da-da-da-da. That's literally only American railroads. I don't know too much outside of the U.S. And it may be the opposite, but I feel like there aren't too many people the world over that don't know what a big boy is, at least if you care about trains. But I might be wrong, That's not necessarily something that's a guarantee. Oh, you know what? I need a barge down here. I need to see what... What am I going to do with these cranes? Well, I need to plateau this area on the bottom here. I don't know much about British Railways. Everything I know about British Railways comes from, like, random stuff I see on YouTube or that people show me or send me, and Thomas and Friends. That's it. That's where my knowledge ends. And I know, shame for display, because the British are kind of, as much as I hate to admit it, the British are the real railroad gurus. They got there first. And so, when it's, British locomotives this, British locomotives that, as much as I want to roll my eyes, because British locomotives are trash, a trash tier at least, I have to admit that, the Brits, they did a lot with their engines, They were pretty well known for those engines of theirs, and I can't really hold it against them. I can't really get upset, I can't, there's nothing to be upset about. It's just, they got there first, they came up with them, they plastered their name on them, They spread them around most of the world. So many locomotives are British design. Or at least a derivative thereof. Whereas American locomotives are pretty much just found in America, and then like in Russia, and then in a few other, smaller countries, and also Australia, I guess, because they've got those wide open spaces too. But the fact of the matter is, when you slice it like that, American locomotives tend to be a little bit rarer and a little bit more niche than British locomotives. The world over. Obviously, we've got more here. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on that. I know a little bit from each company. I don't know a lot. It's that's just the way it is. That's the way it's probably. Maybe it's not always going to be that way for me, but it's the way it is right now, and I don't really see that changing because I'm not about to go on a big British railroading kick. At least I don't foresee that happening. Maybe I'm wrong. Why? What do you think? I want to hear your input on this. What do you think? Why and why? I'm sorry I'm giving you an exam question. This feels like a test, I'm sure, but it doesn't have to be. If you guys ever have an answer to the comments like those, absolutely say so. Absolutely post something, because I'm entertained, I'm enthused, I'm interested in your input. Everyone's input. Because, let's be honest, people are interesting. And everyone here is, I'm sure, a very interesting person. Okay, so, here's what we're going to do. I think I'm going to move this back and over. Oops. Because I want enough room for some dockside cranes. This is the kind of thing where you would deal with trucks. Or like, boats in a barge canal, that sort of thing. And I don't know what we'd be looking at here. Scrap metal? Is this a magnet? I think it's a magnet. Yeah, it's a magnet. So it'd be moving scrap metal. But, what are we doing here? This supposed to be a bleachery? That much I know. There's a bleachery, and then there's some other stuff. And I think this is going to be the bleachery. And I don't know where I'm going to put this. Probably up here. I think I'm going to put this over here. As for the power plant is going to go like at the base of the river here. This looks like a very large, like a rolling mill or something. It's actually a warehouse. What are you? Oh, you're something big. I just need to figure out this area here, really. As I need to figure out what's here and what's not. I need to figure out what goes on here, you know? So, this is the head of the river. And we're looking at some other places. You know, I'm looking at, like, what goes on here? What gets shipped in and out of Mason's Landing? You know, what can I do even? You know, in order to make an interesting area. And this building is an interesting and sort of fun building, but it's really just a warehouse. And, you know, do I want to put this over here? Or do I want to have, like, an actual sort of mill over here? You know, do I want to position it elsewhere? Do I want to put it this way and sort of put it along the track over here, so we have tracks that lead into it this way? Do I want to, because then we can have this whole area for you know, manufacturing and stuff like that, and then this is the distribution center. You know, I could get away with that. I could see that working. So maybe I will do that. Let me move these other buildings out of the way. Give me this. Yeah, we have that other place that makes paint. And what we don't have is any place that actually really takes in steel. Now this place could take in plenty of steel. This place could take in lots of stuff. But the fact of the matter is, I don't know what. You know? I don't know what we could take in here. And also, the idea of a truck distribution center over here is kind of... it doesn't make any sense. Because we're stuck in here. We're stuck in here, and even if you get out here, there's not another highway. Unless there's a road that leads to the highway out this way, which there might be. Because the highway does run this way. You know, and I might do that. Unless there's a road that leads to the highway out that way, a truck-based distribution center really doesn't make any damn sense. So, I don't think that really matters. And now let's go ahead and look at, I think we went through, like, the whole list of mill buildings. You know, right? We did that. We went through, like, all this crap. Plate mill, continuous rolling mill. You know, we don't want one of these. These are going to be something else. They're going to be elsewhere. And it's like, what can we get away? What can we put over here that actually makes any sense, that actually really fits the location, you know? So we've got a couple of things, but really, we don't have a whole lot. And I should probably be downloading some. I should probably download some. And we do have these things, but we're using that already. And we get this, and this is too small. So I don't know. Let's see. Let's see if I can just get some, like, brick warehouses in here or something, you know? You know, I don't want, like, tenements. I just want, you know, I want large buildings, like, you know, I want factory buildings. I don't want houses. This is not Steam era. Now look at those parking spaces and those lights and those AC units. This is not Steam era. Although maybe I could stick it in here and just, you know, call it a day. But there are too many parking spaces. Oh, brick house, okay. We've got a shoddy little brick engine house. So there's that. Brick workshops. Brick warehouses. Brick stations. That's not what I need. More brick houses. Lots of brick houses. And then brick and timber barn. Yeah, no, I don't. If instead of mill we go with factory, maybe we'll turn up something else? Fam factory, timber factory. That looks low quality enough. Shirt factory without name. It's like a textile factory. Seafood factory. If I see food, I eat it. So this is a textile mill. There's these two, meat packing plant, appliances. What is this? I mean, I guess I can just throw that in, because why not? Paper factory, that's a Dave Snow thing. Medium factory, this is something useful. That's an old one. Ooh. Oh, I know this thing. I know this thing very well. Long factory. Oh, this building. This could be useful. Not right now. It could be useful. Kilman Furniture Factory. So that's that. I don't need that. Paint factory, large factory building. Yeah. Doors. Ooh, these are actually quite cool. I really want the flat roof ones, you know, this one, this sort of thing. Fertilizer factories, I don't need that. I just want large. Oh, you know what? Yeah, like this. We've used this elsewhere, but I'm not opposed to using it again. That is a weird roof. We're not doing that. Frank's factory. Factory 4 Sherman. I mean, I would use that, I suppose. Some of these are just so old. They're so old and they're so simple. Ooh. Maybe I'll use this somewhere, except this looks a little bit too busted up to be good. For whatever reason, it looked like that black spot on the ground was growing out of the corner of my eye. And I went, what the hell? And now I'm just looking through factory buildings. I want to see stuff. Like, that's the same freaking thing. It just looks slightly different. I mean, I guess I'll take it because it looks better. See, having stuff at weird angles is really what sells it sometimes. And so this might be good and helpful. Although, wait, is that a shadow? Is that a baked-in shadow on one of the sides? No. But, you know, if we look at these buildings, and we look at, okay, these are everything we have to play with, how can we arrange them so that the thing makes sense? It's like, well, what am I really trying to do here? You know, one set of factories doesn't take up this whole plot. It just, you know, it just doesn't. No matter how much I try to, you know, fit things in. So if I have this be like the distribution center for something else we're building in here, you know, what do I do? So what I'm thinking now is I have 2 rows of factories, basically. I have this with the platforms here, all sort of aligned to the tracks here, with the platforms where they are, and some things, and some tracks that run in here, and maybe 1 or 2 of these buildings in here. In fact, I think I'll place 2 of them. Oh no! It's not doing what I'm asking it to do. And then, we have these 2 buildings in here. We have, I sort of wish I had that cockeyed building to put in here. But this, maybe I'll smoosh it into the end of this, and it might look good. If it might look good, I mean, it doesn't look good. Actually, it lines up with the ends of those windows pretty well, but it's not really passable as this building, these 2 buildings are part of one another. It's not really passable as that, because they're way too different. But I will line that up with Cardinal. And then what I can do is, you know what? I can do that. If this had a weird angle on it, that'd be even better. Because now we have this. I don't know what it does yet, but we have it. And we have a whole bunch of space over here, so we can have a road down the middle here and a distribution center, and then another mill. And I said I was going to put this on the other side of the river here, which that works because it's sort of just being stately over there on its own. And then we have this thing, which I also do want to put along the river. Sort of facing like this. It's sort of parallel to the river itself. Yeah, we're going to run out of mill buildings real fast, but if you guys have good ideas for others, say something. I think I'm going to put this sort of at the end here. Because I'm wondering, okay, how do we set the tracks up? We have a nice space in here. The areas that have water access have water access. Or, the areas that need water access have water access. Yes, the ones that have it, have it. This is November 2nd, which is also November 2nd. As you know. I think I'm going to put this warehouse over there. On the other shoreline. What does this place do? I don't really care. I'll make it do what I want. Milling company. Alright, so it is a milling company. I'm not sure what to do with this building, but it is really nice. And now the other thing is I want another building on this side, so I think I will use this, even though this is really old and ratty. We haven't really worked on the train over there yet, but this whole area, you've got mills that sort of follow the water's edge. You've got, this area is all dockside, so you can't put something over there, but I can put something. Oh, that's supposed to be. Oh wow. Okay, so it's supposed to pass through the middle. Oh, that's really cool. I've got a toy with that. Oh, this rotates like that, I see. So I'm going to rotate this like this and put it here. What else have we got? What else can we need to fill this space with something, even if we're going to have, like, parking lots in here. We need to fill the space with something, or we can just fill it with freight tracks. You know, we can fill it with tracks. I can always put this, like, here. So it'll be straight up in the middle of everything. There's a truck dock. Oh, you know what? That's fitting. Let me move that over here. Actually, I want to move it to, like, here. Because if we have a bunch of yard tracks, a couple of them will terminate here at the edge, and there'll be, like, a fence around this. And then there'll be one that goes straight through. Yeah. And so we can put this in the back of this. That would probably make sense. Or it would appear to. You know, it could look like it makes sense. I don't want to be totally parallel, but I want to be close to it. Actually, I'm going to rotate this like that. Yeah, there we go. We've got that, you know, little factory, big world going on right there. Alright, so we've hit a half an hour left in the video. I'm going to go and start copying and pasting things. But we've made some headway down here. We've started to lay the place out. I'm starting to like the way it looks. If you guys have, you know, any comments, you know, about anything I've said, but mostly about if you've got, you know, factory ideas, if there's factories on the DLC you want to see down in here, I will continue looking things up. I probably should be downloading more, but I just forget. And then trains crashes, and then I lose all those things that I was trying to download. But let's go copy-paste some things. So, anyway. Oh, see, normally I save, like, a topic to round this out. Oh, you know what? There is one more topic left. Well, you did say, can you work up the mountain to Bristol Curve? I will eventually. And then, do you have a dog? I do have a dog. His name is Oliver. He's depressed. He's a sad, sad animal. Because, well, it's because he is. You know, there's no because. He's a depressed dog. He doesn't... When people aren't home that he knows really well, and I'm not one of these people, for the record. Apparently I'm not good enough for him. He stays in his crate. He does not move. He keeps his head down, and he sort of like looks at anyone who comes near, but that's it. There's nothing more that goes on other than like a sad look, and like big sighs and stuff like that. And, you know, maybe I'm reading too much into a dog's emotions, but he was previously abused, so he has a reason to be depressed. It's not depression for no reason, although he's had a good home for years upon years. He's still depressed. But, you know, that's him. That's who he is. He's a depressed animal, and he's so sad, and he makes me feel bad, because he doesn't love me as much as he should. I miss having a dog that loves me. I used to have this other dog, Oliver, by the way, for people who are trying to visualize this depressed animal. He is half Chihuahua, half Italian Greyhound. So, you know, you can look up what the two of them like and try to combine them in your head. He's very cute. He is really cute. You know, he didn't take a lot of the looks of a Chihuahua. He looks a lot more like Italian Greyhound. And Italian Greyhounds, for people who don't know, because I get this a lot, people are like, oh god, like they mated those two dogs. Italian Greyhounds are little. They're little Greyhounds. They're so cute. And again, they're miniature Greyhounds. What's not to love? Other than the crippling depression. But Oliver has crippling depression. And he doesn't leave his crate. Unless when somebody's home that he likes. But, you know, that's just his life. You know, I am not one to judge him. He's just trying to live his best life. In reality, though, it's sad. I am deeply saddened by Oliver being Oliver. He loves Madison, though, so that's a plus. He's like, sometimes he's like Madison's best friend. I mean, he's anyone's best friend if you've got food. But, so he's not that depressed. He's got better. It used to be a lot worse. He used to be a lot more depressed and a lot more skittish. He's tan, he's small, he's very cute. I wish he liked me because he's such a cute dog. I love him even if he doesn't want to love me. But he just gets freaked out so easily. And then he'll go and he'll sit in his crate and he'll be sad. Because that's his life. That's my dog. Or it's not even really my dog, but that's the dog. We used to have my dog. My dog was Marco. He was all Chihuahua. And he was the friendliest and nicest Chihuahua you would ever meet. He was very well behaved. He knew a lot. He didn't know too many tricks, but he knew a lot. He knew what was up. And he dealt with a lot of things up until, he passed away when he was 12. Or we had to put him down, I should say. And I don't know, I miss him a lot because he was my dog growing up. They got me that dog when I was like 6 or 7 as like can you have responsibility yet? Are you good enough for this? Is this something you can handle? And I feel like I knocked it out of the park, but who am I to really know? I don't really know. I did some stupid things. I tortured him a little bit when I was younger just because I didn't know better. Like, I would toy around with him and I'd do this, that, or the other, and, and he'd get pissed at me. Rightfully so, because I'd be playing with him. I tortured him like he would come and hang out with us when... I desensitized him. I don't mean tortured him like I beat him or kicked him or, did that sort of thing to him. I didn't, go out of my way to injure Marco. I love Marco. I loved Marco. But the thing, I would like... I'd always scoop him up and carry him around, that sort of thing. The thing you do when you're a kid faced with a dog. So and I'm sure he loved that, and by I'm sure he loved that, I mean he definitely didn't love that. But he was always very tolerant of it, He didn't snap, he didn't bite, he didn't really growl at anybody. There were a couple of times where he would get upset, and he would do something like that, but he was never out to injure someone. Just to say, hey, cut it out. And, I miss that. I miss that in a dog. Because Oliver doesn't have any of that. Because he's depressed. He doesn't, he won't even, get upset at you. He won't get angry, he won't try to bite you unless you're really, you're really messing with him. Like, you're sticking your face in his face repeatedly, that sort of thing. Then he'll start to give you a lip, but he still doesn't want to hurt you. He still doesn't want to do anything that might incur wrath, because he knows that there are people that will beat him. Or he thinks that. I mean, he knows that there are people like that. He doesn't know that we aren't those people. He doesn't know that necessarily we will never be those people. We adopted him to get him out of that kind of life, to make sure that he never has to face that again. But he's a dog. He doesn't understand. As much as I'm glad that he is in a good home, I just wish I wish he was smart enough to realize, and I'm not calling him a dumb dog, I just wish dogs were smart enough to understand all the nuances of past, present, and future, the nuances of people, And, you'd think they're fairly good judges of character, but dogs loved Hitler, so I don't know about that. And I would say, well, maybe that means that all dogs are anti-Semitic, but Madison's Jewish and Oliver loves him, so I don't know. Maybe it's just German Shepherds. That's racist. Anyway, I don't actually know what kinds of dogs Hitler had. I mean, I would kind of expect it to be German Shepherds. But, I don't know. I wasn't there. There are probably some pictures of Hitler and his dogs. I bet you can Google that. Anyway. This is what we do. We copy-paste trees. This is this whole show. But yeah, I love dogs. Dogs are better than cats, anyway. As much as I do love cats, don't get me wrong, I love cats. I love them both. I love them both for different reasons. You know, and I can't, like, go through and name the reasons. I just know that I do love them both. I mean, I love most animals, especially small animals, you know, especially pet animals. Just, you know, just for the simple, you know, virtue of, you know, they are, you know, they're pet animals, they're little, they're cute, they're companions, they like to hang out with you, they're, you know, that sort of thing. You generally don't get a pet if it hates you. So, it's like, yeah, it's a pet. It loves you. It gives you affection. I mean, cats, I don't know, but that's sort of my beef with cats. CGP Grey put it really well. With dogs, you're part of the pack. They love you. They want to make you happy. They want to work with you or work for you or that sort of thing. A cat is a tiny tiger that lives in your house. It would kill you if it could, but it doesn't. So it settles for, you know, it settles for knocking things off the table and sitting on your keyboard when you're trying to play Siege. It settles for killing you that way. Just, you know, the little deaths, the making you a slave sort of thing. You know, it's better to die free than live a slave. And here we are, feeding our cats and cleaning up their poop. And so basically they've done something better than killing us. I think that's what they were going for when they enslaved humanity. I think it must have been. I mean, 3,000 years ago, we weren't that much to look at. You know, we didn't have all these fancy cat toys. They were probably bored out of their minds. You know. And now they're the #1 murderer on the planet, house cats. Oh my god, they kill so much. And you can look that up. I'm not making that up. I'm not pulling that out of my, you know, pulling that out of my tender. Cats have pretty much, you know, they kill more birds and, you know, and that sort of thing than pretty much anything else. And you know, yeah, I say look that up, like, look that up, try me, I'm right. But I mean, like, look that up, verify that, because I think I'm right. I think I'm right, and I want other people to learn. If I'm wrong, and it leads to somebody looking up, you know, something and then getting the right answer, that's still a win in my book. It doesn't matter if I was wrong the first time around, as long as somebody that wanted the right answer got the right answer. You know, whatever the truth is, it's the truth. And, you know, I try to make sure that I always stick to the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And if you can't handle the truth, get out of the kitchen. That's what Mama always used to say. So, if you can handle the truth, get out of the courtroom. Maybe that's a better analogy. I mixed the analogy on purpose, but, you know, maybe that's a good analogy to use. If you can't handle the truth, get out of the courtroom. Because of, you know, you can't handle the truth. What is that? A Few Good Men? Is that the film? I think so. I don't know off the top of my head. I feel like I should know, you know. That should be mandatory. Knowledge of that film. Anyway. Alright. See, this is why this takes forever. This is why I wait until the last, you know, half an hour of the episode. Everyone's gone. You know, the bored people have already gotten bored and left. They've, you know, now it's just me playing with trees and talking about Hitler's dogs. But, you know, maybe you're really into that. Hitler's dogs. I don't know. I'm not going to judge. I guess it's better than... I mean, is it better than being really into Hitler? I don't know. Discuss. Change my view, you know? I put that there. Put that... Come on. Alright. Put those up there. As long as we can keep the right-of-way of the highway and the railway mostly clear. You know, and keep a pretty unobstructed view of the sky. That's all we really need over here. Yeah, that's pretty good. Oh. Need to continue deleting trees over here. So... yeah, Hitler. It's always such a point of conversation. You know, the guy definitely wins for being talked about. You know, being still talked about, being still relevant. I'm glad Hitler's kept himself relevant in this day and age. You know, it's everything's looking up for Hitler. I mean, after all, he did kill Hitler. That would have been a great way to end the video. I wish I had waited 15 more minutes to say that dumb joke that I'm sure nobody here has ever heard before. And they've been like, well, anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll see you next week. Train Man out. And just sort of moonwalked out, you know, mic dropped on that, which would have been the dumbest thing ever. But it would have been better than my normal ending, which is, oh crap, yeah, it's time. Alright, bye. Especially if you watch the zombie train. It's always a rushed ending on the zombie train because I always lose track of time, which I guess is not necessarily a bad thing because it means that I'm, you know, into the content I'm making. But it's the kind of thing where it's like, oh yeah, crap, no, it's got to end. Like it's ending now, and I have like a couple seconds to say, all right, thanks, bye. I don't get to do my normal spiel. Thanks for watching this video. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the button. You know, what is it? The bell? Hit the bell. You know, make sure to update on Facebook. I don't have a Facebook. I do have a Facebook. It's out there. You can find it. Not that there's anything on it, unless you really just want to see posts like from my mom. Not that we share a Facebook, but she's the only reason I end up on Facebook, even though I have my own account that I don't log into. She tags me in things. Nobody else does that. Well, actually, I think Madison does that. So her and Madison are pretty much, that's it. They're my only reason that my likeness really exists on Facebook at all. Which is fine. I don't really have, like, what am I losing? Not much, I would think. So we're getting somewhere. I've said this repeatedly, but we definitely still are. Alright, I'm going to delete all the ones that are sort of hanging on the edge here. That one's fine. Whoa! This one needs to go away. It's mostly the birch trees that are the good ones. And then a lot of this is going to be rock cut anyway, so we're not going to be able to put trees on it. Let me move this guy back onto the grass. Yeah, we'll come through and we'll do that scenery later. But I can continue copy-pasting. At least over here, yeah. So, yeah. Dogs are the best companions, you know? Cats are great, though. Cats can be really entertaining, and they can be really... I mean, I hesitate to say fun, although I guess I mean that, you know. They can be fun. They're fun animals. They can be sort of dopey. There's a reason we all watch the cat videos on Reddit and Facebook and YouTube. It's, you know, it's a compulsion. We love cats. We really do. As much as we might grouse and moan about them, even, you know, unless you're allergic, then you've got a pretty good reason to not like cats. But unless you're Madison, in which case you're allergic and you still try to pet the cats because you're an idiot. Never. No offense, love you. If only she was here, then it would be, you know, then I would feel better making fun of her. Because it's all quite tongue-in-cheek. And I love the sarcastic looks that I get when I do it. Or the, you know, I'm tired of you. Like, you know, the like, why am I putting up with you looks. Those are the looks that let you know you've won as a significant other, like that you're doing it right. Because if you're getting those looks and you're still in a relationship, then you've done it right. If you're getting those looks and then follow up is, oh, we're breaking up, then no, don't do that. That's bad. You've gone too far there. But on the whole, if you're getting those looks and it's like, I can't stand you. I love you, but I can't stand you. That is the reaction you're looking for. Supreme troll status. And it's only worth trolling people you like and people you know. Don't go dick with random strangers on the internet. They don't deserve it. What did they ever do? And they aren't voluntarily stuck with you. See, if you've got a significant other, like Madison's stuck with me. She can't leave. I mean, she can, but she won't by her own volition. I'd have to break up with her, and that's not going to happen because I rather like her. If you guys couldn't tell, so the moment of watching her reach down and touch the cat, knowing full well. Both of us knowing full well that she is allergic to cats. It was like oh, you're gonna do that, aren't you? And I'm still not sure if she regretted it. So, just hashtag just do it. Like, believe in something even if it means sacrificing everything. Pet the cat when you're allergic to the cat. It's the best to have all of my animals together, and by all of my animals, I mean 2 cats and a dog. It's really not much. It was funnier back when we had Marco, because Marco had a better interaction with the cats. Marco was smaller than the larger cat, which she's a mega chonker, and if you don't know what that is, look up the chonk chart for cats. CHONK. But she was bigger than Marco. Marco was a fairly small dog. He was chubby too. But he was a full-blooded Chihuahua. He was a pretty small dog. And he didn't want to piss them off. He never engaged the cats really. The cats engaged him, or at least Zoe did, the bigger one, because she was bigger. And they came into, we lived in this house on Fiat Avenue, and the cats are my stepmoms, and when my dad and my stepmom got married, or when my stepmom became my stepmom, I suppose, then, the cats moved in. Now, Marco wasn't happy with that, but he didn't really do anything about it. The reason he wasn't happy with it is because Zoe, being Zoe, in an attempt to assert her dominance, presumably, would walk up, he'd be minding his... He was already pretty old at this point, Chihuahuas tend to live longer, but he was a larger Chihuahua. Would sneak up to him, very quietly. He'd be sitting under the table minding his own business, and I'd watch. And she'd come around the corner from the living room and walk up to him very slowly when he's not looking, and then smack him, and then run away. And he would turn around and growl at her, whatever. He wouldn't move, because that's way too much effort. But, I understood him. Because what's he gonna do, chase him around the house? He's not gonna win that battle. And he would turn around and growl at her, but she'd already be gone. And then he would go back to what he was doing, which would be standing there watching us prepare food or something. Those were the times where he was distracted enough for Zoe to get the drop on him. And that's all he cared about. He was living a life. He lived for food. He was a dog, And the cats live for food too. Again, Zoe's a mega chonker, and Natasha is the other one, and she's just one step below that. Also, I always forget that I've got an all-black cat. Natasha's an all-black cat. It was just Halloween, And I never put two and two together. Not that there's anything to really add up there. Not that you get anything out of it. But it's just the fact that, oh, I've got a black cat. Those are supposed to be bad. I forget. I forget because I see a black cat literally every day of my life. I come home to a black cat, and a mostly black cat wandering around the house, being generally lazy, and also coming up and, massaging the side of my computer chair when I'm trying to make a video. Or, in this instance, I turned around just to see if she was there. In this instance, sleeping, but not really sleeping, on the couch behind me and staring at me while I make a YouTube video. That's just what they do. Cats are weird. Cats and dogs are weird. And they're weird in their own special ways. And I love it. I never really had another pet. I had goldfish, but I was a small child with goldfish. They didn't last that long. They're the snack that smiles back. I ate them immediately. But no, in all seriousness, I went through a lot of freaking goldfish as a kid because they just kept dying. We just had them in a little goldfish bowl, like the stereotypical glass bowl, and, didn't care that much because it's a goldfish. And so then they would die. We would feed them, but they didn't have, an oxygenator, they didn't have the right stuff. The right stuff that, a fish really needs to thrive in a tank. And, that's the thing. You can get way deep into that hobby. You can get really deep into that hobby. The subreddits for it are insane. I've seen some of the stuff. I'm not sub to it because I really, I don't have much interest in that because I'm not a fish guy. Because what does a fish do for you? A cat, at least, a cat, might catch mice, or, whatever, ward off pests. Cats can be pretty freaking useful. That's, they realized that they were useful to us. That's why they enslaved us. That's why they figured it'd be easy. But, and a dog you can train to do all sorts of stuff. But what does a fish do for you? No matter how hard you train a fish will never get you a can of soda out of the fridge. A fish will never bring you the remote or the paper. A fish, maybe you might get one to roll over for you, but that's a trick. Tricks aren't useful. They might be entertaining, but they aren't useful. Not that Marco was really useful, but at least, when an intruder shows up at the door, you've got two dogs, or, in this case it was one dog, because Oliver didn't make a peep for the first, couple of years that we had him. That's another weird thing about Oliver. He really doesn't bark that well. He's only just now getting the hang of it, and we've had him for years. Oh wait, am I inside an area? No. Let me just clear up the trees on the edge of this. The episode's about to end. A trick is not a helpful thing. A trick is entertainment. And as much as I love entertainment, especially coming out of animals, again, go back to those cat videos. Yeah, training an animal for entertainment, yeah, okay, you can go, that's what the circus is for. And I don't see too many fish in the circus either. So I don't know what to tell you about owning fish. It's cool. They're cool to look at. They're not going to help you. Two yappy dogs barking at intruders, they may not present that much of a threat, but sometimes that's all it takes. Any resistance. You don't know what a little dog is going to do. You might be able to punt a small dog across the room, but that doesn't mean he won't grab your ankles. That doesn't mean he won't hurt you first. Dogs have a use. Even small dogs have a use as just being deterrents. A security system. Most of the time, the real deterrent of owning a home security system is that sign you put out front that says this home has a security system. And so, in having a dog just in owning a dog, you already have that sign, basically. You already have that, this home is secured. Because a potential burglar knows that, A, if they try to do it when somebody's home, there's no way they're doing it stealthily. They're going to get called out on it by the dog. Or if they try to do it when somebody isn't home, they still might have a dog to deal with. Uh-oh. That's bad. That shouldn't be there. Okay, it's gone now. It's gonna come back, I think. No? Okay, good. Excellent. Okay. Well, the episode's over. We've hit our 2 hours, but we've made it quite a bit farther. We have to fill in this cove here, and that... Oh, there's a blank space here. Let me, Oh, because that's something that I've got to... Okay, so we've got to... Well, there it goes. Right as I was about to end the episode, the game crashes. So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next week. Trainman out. I should have known that tree... I should have known that tree was a bad omen.